In this video series, I'm going to use this seed to reach the end dimension in Minecraft Bedrock Edition in peaceful mode. 4 months might sound like a long time, but I have other obligations in life, and I have no intention of trying to speedrun this. I want to enjoy the journey just as much as the destination, and the destination is, after almost 5 years of playing this game, finally getting the achievement for defeating the Ender Dragon. I was struggling to think of what to do next on my channel, especially since I want to wait for part 2 of 1.17 to continue my ultra hardcore but no mobs spawn series. However, I then remembered that this seed allows you to beat the game in peaceful mode since it spawns with the end portal completely filled in. The reason I didn't do this before is that when I first learned about this seed, we didn't know that 1.17 was going to be split into 2 parts. So I figured that by the time I found about 11 hours to play the game, Minecraft would have already been updated and the completed portal wouldn't be there anymore. But of course, 1.17 was divided into 2 parts, and this seed still spawns with a completely filled end portal. So now I have at least 4 months to beat Minecraft, assuming that Mojang considers the end of October to be the beginning of the holiday season. I decided to allow myself a starting map because I think it might be neat to make a map wall of this trek. I also turned natural regeneration off to give myself some challenge, but it looks like I end up regenerating health anyway in peaceful. I would like to try to beat the game without dying, but if I die, I'll just continue. I knew before starting this series that there would be buried treasure, underwater ruins, and shipwrecks nearby. Since those can have armor, potions, and other items which would be helpful for achieving my goal, I decided I would take some time to temporarily settle down near spawn so that I could collect those things. I made my way south so that I could collect some wood, saplings, and apples. I plan on collecting as many golden apples as possible. Since I can't make potions in peaceful mode, I'm going to have to look at other ways to get certain effects like absorption and regeneration. Besides, at least golden apples will stack. Before I realized that turning off natural regeneration doesn't work quite the way I expected in peaceful, I had planned on gathering the necessary mushrooms and oxeye daisies to make suspicious stew. I might still gather those items, but I'm realizing now that golden apples may be more relevant. With 12 oak logs, I continued to the next island, which had oxeye daisies. They all instantly broke off, though, because they had spawned on sand for some reason. That was odd. But hey, I wasn't going to look a gift daisy in the mouth, especially since they don't have mouths. At least, I hope they don't. I also gathered some sugarcane. As I said earlier, I want to make a map wall of this journey eventually. Finally, I reached this island with an underwater ravine and a cave system. I figured iron tools would make it easier to get the treasure from the shipwrecks and other structures, so this became my first temporary base. Again, I'm not trying to rush my way to the end. I want to have fun getting there. Later that night, when I finally decided to visit the top of the island, I discovered an oxeye daisy. That further solidified in my mind that this island was going to be my home for a little while. Almost immediately after that, I found a red mushroom, so I was 2/3 of the way to suspicious stew. Well, actually, I guess it's more like halfway, because I'll probably still need podzol to grow the mushrooms on. I also grabbed some copper, because why not? It's new! Thus, when I returned to the surface the next morning, I had quite the collection of raw iron and copper. So I moved my crafting table and furnace to the top of the island, and got to work smelting. I had just grabbed another log from the cluster of trees when I saw a white horse. White. Just like a daisy. So I named the horse Daisy. Well, not officially, because I didn't have a name tag or anvil at the time. I'll have to do that next week. And it was tamed on the first try. It's like it was meant to be. Earlier, I was planning on getting a mule to make it easier to transport my stuff with me on this journey, but I think I'm now obligated to take Daisy with me, at least to the location in the overworld above the end portal. And I can always put her in a boat while we cross the ocean. I was a little disappointed when we didn't get boat chests added to the game. but I'm now realizing that might have meant that other mobs wouldn't be able to go in boat chests with us. So maybe it's for the best that I don't have to make the decision to either take Daisy or a chest. As the second night drew near, I figured a bed might be useful. However, there were no sheep on this island. I figured that the sheep I had seen on the previous islands may have already despawned, but that it was worth a shot to check anyway. Unfortunately, I was correct that the sheep were gone. So I returned to base to place down some torches, and started gathering sand because my experience is that using gravel or sand is the best way to safely get down to shipwrecks and other underwater structures without drowning. When I returned to base, I discovered that 3 sheep had spawned. I'd be able to have a bed. Having finally slept for the first time in this world, I began work on accessing the first shipwreck. I think this might be the first time I've seen one that's acacia and spruce. With the sand in place, I was ready to descend. The first chest was immediately accessible, so that was convenient. I had to dig through the wall to get to the second chest, but of course that was the one with the buried treasure map, so I had to have it. I didn't think I'd be able to swim out and under the ship in time to not drown, so I broke the sand on one of the sides. That caused its own problems, but I eventually returned to the surface. Once there, I was surprised. I knew that there was buried treasure on the spawn island, but I wanted to at least try to be legitimate, so I figured I'd get the treasure map first. But this map went to somewhere completely different. However, I figured that since I could see the indicator, that the treasure must not be too far away. What would it hurt to go and find it? Oh, if I had only known how far it would take me. I ended up needing to make multiple pit stops because, again, I wanted to have a map wall of my journey, including this detour. If you really feel like tracking how far I traveled, just pay attention to the numbers in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. I navigated through frozen oceans, walked through plains, boated through more ocean, took some time to stop and smell the roses, took some time to take some of the roses, found a ruined portal, which meant I got some shiny new tools and obsidian. Boated through more ocean, where I found a not-so-underwater ruin. I thought that if I just opened the chest at this point, the treasure map inside would just link to the one I was going to, so I just marked it with torches to make sure I returned. I also dropped off some of my items. This was the point at which I realized carrying many maps was going to be a serious struggle. I would worry about that later, though. At that moment, I needed to focus on finding this treasure. So I went through more ocean, and there, in the upcoming desert, I saw it, a desert temple. I was excited for sure, but then I remembered how the last 2 desert temples I had found in my other survival series were empty, so I tried to manage my expectations. But RNG decided to be kind that day. All 4 chests were present. The items of interest to me were string, bones, a book with efficiency and sharpness. I'd have to figure out whether I wanted to put that on a pickaxe or a sword. A golden apple, a second golden apple, gunpowder, emeralds, and a saddle for Daisy. I also grabbed the TNT, of course. Finding those treasures made me feel a little better about this journey, but it was still far from over. I had to trudge through more desert, plunge into a river, briefly stroll through a savanna, wander through more desert. But as I reached the edge of yet another sandhill, I saw light, civilization. I leapt into the river below. I was able to borrow one of their beds to skip to the morning. And then I permanently borrowed that bed. I really should have brought one with me. I forgot how dark and difficult it is to see at night. And then I found this guy who was still in bed despite the fact that it was clearly daytime. Maybe he works the night shift. I'm really not in a position to criticize his sleep schedule now that I think about it. But then I saw a second desert temple right next to the village. It had gold and iron horse armor. Initially I took both, but then I decided to just take the gold with me because I figured that would stand out better on Daisy anyway. I grabbed more TNT, an Unbreaking 1 book, and some gold. Of course, there was more gunpowder, bones, and string, too. No sooner did I leave that temple that I found another village, though this one was abandoned. It was kind of sad, seeing all these cobwebs and abandoned cats. And cobwebs. At the edge of the village was more ocean, so I was back to boating. I was reaching the end of this current map when it finally happened. I was on the treasure map. Finally, this detour was almost over. I reached the shore and slept through the night. With the skies clear, I dug around until I finally found the chest, and I'm not sure these contents were worth it. Though the name tag, lead, and diamond were nice. Besides, there was also all the cool stuff I had found on my way. I can only hope that indicates that the larger journey of going to the end will be rewarding too. On my way back home, I saw a ruin really close to the buried treasure. Inside was a treasure map to the same treasure, even though I broke the chest, and a heart of the sea. It's okay though. I still got a lot of stuff from this trip, though I had to walk all the way through the desert again. And when I returned to the not-so-underwater ruin, that treasure map actually did lead to a different treasure, which was really close by. It took a while to get to, though, since it was quite a ways underwater. Inside was another heart of the sea, leads, a name tag, and more armor, some of which I ended up smelting into nuggets because they were duplicates. So I had iron pants and shoes with chainmail, shirt, and helmet. It's not the most stylish outfit, but it is mine. By the next day, I was almost home. I passed by this extreme hills biome. It's a shame, it looks like it would have been a really neat place to build. Maybe if I beat the game in time, I could come back. We'll see. I also just realized that I may have missed a map because I needed one to the north of the original map. Oh well, I was running out of inventory space anyway. Now that I was home once again, I could give Daisy her shiny new armor and saddle. I was nervous about how her stats would be, though. My experience has been that horses with a lot of health are usually slow and bad jumpers. Her speed wasn't too bad, but her jump, she could actually jump 5 blocks, which I could tell by having her jump on the oak tree. So maybe she wouldn't be that much faster than walking, but if I was going up a steep hill, she might save me some time. Anyway, with how many maps I had, I determined that it would be best to leave behind the maps from my detour in a barrel. I'm thinking I might have to make many map barrels along my route. But there were still other nearby ruins for me to check out, so I wasn't ready to continue on just yet. I gathered more sand, placed more sand, and for all that effort I got a fishing rod. But at least it wasn't just unbreaking this time, right? In all honesty, I am glad I got a fishing rod, though. It seems the easiest way for me to get a powerful bow, which I will definitely need. I then decided to build a very small house. After all, I'd been calling this island home for a while. It would almost be rude not to. Next morning, a trader visited, selling glowstone. I did get obsidian from my travels, but I was thinking of saving it for later. So I gave my 6 emeralds for 3 glowstone. Was it worth it? I think so. I did need a light source for my tiny house after all. I didn't have anything specific in mind. One of the first houses I ever built in Minecraft was a very ugly stone brick box with oak planks and fences. Ever since that, I've tried to follow the build advice of not just making a box shape. I think it's helped me. However, before I could finish building the rest of the house, I had to chop down these oak trees I had planted. That's what I get for wanting apples, I guess. However, I was able to use those logs to make pillars. I figured I'd put the furnace and crafting table on the floor since this build was so small. After all, I would need to move on at some point in the next 4 months. I then used the axe to strip the logs, filled in the gaps with birch, installed some oak hardwood flooring, added a ladder up to the second floor, which I would eventually move, made and placed a lightning rod so that I wouldn't have to worry about my house burning down, and made and placed a block of copper. Originally, I was thinking I could place one down and then I would have to move once it was completely weathered. Instead, I think I might just use it to roughly track how long I've been at a base. Once the most recently placed block becomes completely weathered, I'll place another until I'm ready to leave that base. Later that night, I added 2 of the glowstone. It certainly made it easier to see. I would need bone meal for white stained glass panes. I didn't want to use up any of the bones in case I found a dog, so I made a composter and used up some of the oak saplings. With the downstairs mostly done, it seemed like a good time to start installing a roof. After moving the ladder, I placed the third and final piece of glowstone. And I finally moved the bed inside. Well, it would be inside once I finished building the rest of the house and roof. I placed the last 2 oak doors on top of the glowstone. Is it safe to have a roof I can walk out onto with no railing? Probably not. But it does make a kind of okay lookout point. I would need more iron for tools, stone for building, and copper for timing, so I returned to the cave system. I also found some redstone. That would be useful for making maps. When I returned to the surface, it was raining, so of course I started fishing. I did get some bows and another rod that I was able to use to upgrade the first one. But otherwise, I didn't get anything particularly useful, other than some levels. My current recording situation isn't conducive to streaming, so I'll continue recording myself playing for a few hours and then recording commentary afterwards. If things change later on so that I can stream, I might do that since that would save me some time with editing. When I make the next video for this series, I'll include it on this end screen. And once there are enough videos in this series to make a playlist, I'll add that to the end screen too. But if those aren't there, there should be another video and playlist you can check out. As a reminder, none of my videos will ever have hostile mobs in them. Until next time, take care.